Blood Moon Rising, Episode 4. The Slaughter of Danvik. Weapons drawn and shields ready, Vidarr's army followed him through the breached gates. Pebbles crunched under his boots as he led them toward the forest. The crags of Stortinden sat on the coastal shore like a god's throne made of boulders. It would not take long to get there once they crossed the valley of Desostrana. Judging from the sun, they should reach Stortinden by late afternoon. Hopefully, they would find Saksbøjrn's treasure trove and set sail before nightfall. He did not like the possibility of meeting the Ulfhednar, but claiming a Viking horde was well worth the risk.
My lord,
Tyr called out just as they reached the meadowlands.
Yes,
Vidarr asked.
look over there.
Tyr pointed to the rugged mountain range in the distance. Vidarr smiled broadly as the jagged peaks appeared before him. All they had to do was cross the valley and follow the ridge down to the water's edge. The crags were nestled just north of where their ship had been beached. With any luck, he and his band of brigands would skim down the fjord in a long ship filled with silver before nightfall.
Odin,
He breathed.
guide our way. Help us find the horde and bring us back home safely.
Vidarr,
Tyr said, trampling over the brambles.
the sun is passing into the west. Should we stop and let the men rest a bit?
Vidarr trudged onward. He wanted to cover more ground. His men had traversed rougher territory than this and did not have to regroup. Why break their stride now? No, they could press onward.
The men do not need to rest.
I was not talking about the men.
Tyr whispered. Vidarr peered over his shoulder and saw Kindra staggering along the trail. She had to be exhausted and hungry. The dark circles under her eyes told him all he needed to know. He could not risk anyone getting sick on this journey, especially her. Not only was she the key to finding the horde, but also the link to uncovering his destiny. He drew a deep breath.
All right, men. We will stop here for now. We will not linger long. The sun will pass over the ridge soon, and night will fall.
And we do not know what is waiting for us once we reach the crags.
Tyr added.
It is best to fight while we can still see the enemy.
I want to see the light fade from their eyes when I kill them.
My gut tells me you will get your chance soon enough.
The group gathered around the rowan trees and started to set up camp. After settling down, Vidarr opened his satchel and pulled out a loaf of bread. He took a bite and began to chew. Several crumbs rained down on his trews as he bit off another hunk. The taste of butter and salt melted in his mouth. Suddenly, he felt someone staring at him, chiseling away at his defenses. Vidarr turned and saw Kindra looking at him. Her eyes cast a hungry gaze. She had to be starving. Vidarr tore the loaf in half and offered some to her. She reached out and took it. With a slight grin, she stuffed a piece in her mouth.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Vidarr leaned back in the grass, fixing his eyes on her. Long dark hair and flawless skin. Kindra was a very beautiful woman. There was no doubt that she had been through something horrific. Behind her vulnerability, he could tell that she possessed a strength deep within.
Do you wish to ask me something, Lord?
Vidarr was speechless. His gaze lingered too long.
My lord.
She asked again, breaking the awkward silence.
Yes, Lady Saksbøjrn.
He said, clearing his throat.
How is your arm?
Kindra adjusted the crude bandage that covered the wound and replied dryly,
It is fine.
Let me look at it.
There is no need.
Vidarr inched closer to her.
Let me see.
No.
She recoiled. Vidarr furrowed his brow and took her by the arm in spite of her protests. He slowly removed the wrappings and examined the injury. After careful inspection, he noticed that the wound had stopped bleeding despite the deep gash. The skin looked raw and frayed. He was surprised that she was not in more pain.
My apologies.
He said, covering the wound with a clean piece of cloth.
This should not have happened. I will talk to Ingunn once we get to the boat.
Why bother? I doubt if we will make it that far.
Trust me, we will sail down the fjord before nightfall.
Your confidence is impressive, my lord. But what if you are wrong?
How can I be? After you lead us to the horde, we will take it, head to the long ship, and leave.
You make it sound simple.
Because it is.
This is a fool's errand. We should make haste and leave here while we still can.
You do not understand.
Vidarr leaned towards her and narrowed his eyes.
I am not leaving without the silver.
Your determination is admirable, but is it worth the lives of your men?
Your dark warnings do not frighten me.
It should.
Courage raced through Kindra's blood as she stared at him.
They will kill every last one of you. Look what they did to Danvik.
I am not afraid of the Ulfhedna. Let them come.
They were not Ulfhedna. Make no mistake about that. Their kind does not belong to Odin. They serve a dark force so powerful that no army can defeat them.
They do not stand a chance against us.
Harkon stated.
We will meet them in battle.
Are you not listening? These man-beasts surrounded my village last night under the cover of darkness. No one knew they were coming. There were no warnings, no signs except for the blood moon.
Blood moon. Vidarr looked over at Tyr. Tension filled the air.
They stalked the outer wall, howling like wild beasts. They did not wear mail nor helmets. Their bodies were covered with wolf pelts instead.
They were just men.
Ulrich shook his head.
No, they were something else.
Do they bleed?
One Eye asked.
Yes, but...
Then we can kill them.
The others roared in agreement. Kindra looked at the warriors and shook her head.
Do not be fooled. No blade can fell them. No fire can bring them down.
These man-beasts have not yet tasted my sword,
Scar said as he sharpened his blade.
My people thought the same thing, until we saw their leader.
Leader.
Kindra paused briefly, then looked straight at him.
Before they attacked last night, a dark shadow appeared on the knoll overlooking Danvik.
An omen.
Ingun whispered.
When the blood moon rose over the ridge, I saw a giant wolf looming over the cliff, looking down at Danvik. Stalking. Growling. Then, just after midnight, the beast arched its neck and howled at the moon. It was so frightening that every leaf in the forest shook with fear.
The Fenris wolf.
Ingun said quietly.
The warriors surrounding my village answered their master, baying and snarling until they were no longer men. Fur sprouted from their chests, fangs grew from their mouths. They turned into wild beasts under the blood moon.
blood moon.
Tyr whispered.
Enough talk.
Vidarr said, rising from the ground. He did not want to listen anymore. Nothing, not even an army of man-beasts, would stop him from finding the horde.
Let's go.
My lord,
Kindra grabbed his arm.
I beg you. Take your army and leave before it is too late.
Vidarr pulled away and glared at her.
Know your place.
Wait.
Come. We have treasure to find.
With a spin of his heel, Vidarr turned and stalked away. They had to make it to the crags before nightfall. He did not want to hunt for it in the dark. If these man-beasts were lurking anywhere near, then he and his men were more than ready to fight. Nothing was going to stop him from claiming the silver. No dark warnings would change his mind. He and his band of warriors will fight anyone or anything that stood in their way. Coming July 11th, 2024. Blood Moon Rising, Episode 5, A Narrow Escape.